how do you think New York, Illinois, and California's policies did during COVID? How do you think they did? I'm actually really curious what you're going to say here.
Which states?
Go one at them. Go just to New York and California. How do you think their leaders handled COVID?
Listen, I don't agree with how they handled it either.
Tell me what you don't agree with.
What would you?
But I'm actually really curious. What do you think they didn't do right?
So here's what I would have done.
Okay.
Because I can't tell you every single decision that any of the other states. I was solely focused on my state.
But you have to realize, if you're going to sit down and get the votes of people here who moved from another state, and you can't explain why they left, and you don't know their pressure points, you're going to have a hard time getting them to listen to you.
So here's mine.
Sure.
Okay. So first and foremost, I did ask for him to close down because we could have saved lives. And you may disagree, but I'm telling you,
there's no science to back that
there is
up.
lots of science
None.
to back that. And you and I will disagree.
The lockdowns didn't work, the mask mandates didn't work, and the vax mandates didn't work. We have plenty of science to back that up.
I completely disagree that if we had shut down earlier.
If that were true, though, Nikki, New York wouldn't have had the surges that it did, and California wouldn't have had the surges that it did, despite those policies. In fact, New York and California oftentimes looked a lot worse than Florida.
Well, not for very long. But the point,
not true.
The point was to have closed down earlier. Because if we had closed down earlier, we would have stopped the spread earlier.
No, people are getting COVID like crazy even now. It's all over the place.
This is a totally different strain. There's 70%.
That's not how it works, though. You know that. I mean, everybody got COVID. People who were vaxxed, people who were unvaxxed, different streams, waves. Some of it was seasonal. We know that now. We know. Come on, you know that.
We also all know that people get vaccinated, they're not going to get into the hospital.
That's not true either. I know plenty of people who got vaccinated who landed in the hospital. That's not true. Yes, and some of them died. That is not true, though. That's not true. That's not to say that people shouldn't get the vaccine if they want to get the vaccine, or people should have access to do whatever they want to do for their health. But to argue that shutting down Florida would have prevented the spread of COVID is just not backed in science.
Let's also realize this. DeSantis did shut down the state. The state was shut down. Let's not forget that he did shut down the state. Okay. He also, when I said it, closed it down earlier so we could open it back earlier. That has always been my position. Mm-hmm. So every time that Ron wants to say, the liberals would have shut down the state and we'd still be shut down, it's absolutely a flat out.
So you would have shut it down earlier,
but opened it up.
And then did you support the mandates of the vaccine mandates?
No,
you didn't.
Okay, I did not.
That's good.
I came out and said personal choice.
That's good.
Everybody has to make the decisions. I went against the White House and said, look, at this point, you know what you need to do to protect yourself. You know what you need to be doing in order to get your family safe. Mm-hmm. I did go on to every single day and ask people to get the vaccine, but certainly I did not ever agree with mandates. Mm-hmm. And the same thing with masks. I clearly said every community needs to make the decisions of what is best for them.
Nikki, but wait a minute. Yeah. My question's not answered. I'm sorry. I'm asking a question. If you're California and New York, if you're saying he did such a shitty job, then you're saying others did a good job. So I'm asking you, California and New York, what do you think they did right that worked so effectively? And what do you think they did wrong that didn't work so effectively?
Look, I have never done an analysis of what New York and California did. I was solely focused
I think you need to, because people from those states are moving to you. And you want to be the governor of this state?
Yes.
Like, if you want to be the governor of the state, I'm a guy that lived in Texas and California. I need you to know why I left California.
But I'm telling you what I would have done as governor of our state. Okay, I came out every single day when Ron was not giving information, and that has been, his decisions aren't always necessarily what my point of issue is. My point of issue is the fact that he made sure that his opinion was the only opinion. He wasn't listening to any other advice. He wasn't listening to any other experts besides the ones that he brought to the table. And you have a purple state. He won by 33,000. You had half of the state that was scared. You had half the state that saw people that are dying in hospitals, that didn't know what information to be given. And then you have somebody who comes on and yells at anybody who doesn't agree with him. He didn't create a calmness. He created chaos. He didn't bring people to the table that may have different opinions and talk through it. It was his way or the highway. He changed the way that we were looking at data. He brought down the dashboard with all this information. People were going through this blind, without information.
So do you think all these people who are educated people, who have families, kids from New York, California, DC, East Coast, who moved to Florida are not paying attention to these numbers? Like, do you think they came down here because they're oblivious? Why do you think these families moved down here?
Look, I don't know.
Are they the oblivious crowd that moved to Florida?
Listen, he sold this picture of what was happening in the state of Florida, that we are the free state of Florida, that we are open. But then if you go down to the policies, he was picking and choosing winners and losers. He was saying, okay, WWE in Jacksonville, you can open up, but the rest of the state, you can't. And then he was choosing which types of different types of businesses were able to have a seat at the table. And even with the vaccines, look at how he distributed the vaccines. He first had pop-up locations that were in affluent communities. He then put the vaccines into Publixes. And as Commissioner of Agriculture, I know how many food deserts are across the state of Florida. And minority communities could not get access to these vaccines. Those were the issues that I had a problem with. You know, whether or not to have closed down when he did, I asked to be on the reopening task force, that because at this point, he again, not bringing people to the table, kept me off of the reopening task force. I enforced, when he came out with the reopening task force and the recommendations, I actually supported them. I said, these are methodical, these are well thought out, and then he completely scrapped it and just reopened. But I think we got to get back to this issue. Regardless of what happened with the pandemic, we got to go and move past it. You know, we know.
I don't think we can, though. When it comes down to, if you're talking about specific to this topic, I know what you're doing, but I'm talking in this topic. We're not past this topic yet. Why did so many educated people who care about their kids and their wives and their families and their husbands, why did they move to Florida? Should they all leave now?
No,
should they go back to California and Texas?
Of course not.
Should they go back to New York? They should go back, right? If you're saying they made a mistake coming down here because DeSantis did such a terrible job.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.